All right, everyone, the moment you've all been waiting for, Super Tuesday Fallout here. It's like another Christmas. It's better than Christmas. This is pretty much the best I could have possibly hoped for. Going into this, I predicted Joe Biden would outperform, and I said he would need 4 states in order to remain viable. He'd probably get a bit over that. I don't think anyone expected him to actually get possibly 9 states on Super Tuesday. So my prediction was right, but I was being too conservative, and I think I have that tendency sometimes to underestimate poll swinging. Number 2, Cenk melts down. Number 3, Elizabeth Warren comes in third in her home state. Not only, she didn't even come in second. She didn't even come in close. She's like, more than 10 points behind the front where Biden manages to win. I figured that one would probably be, for Sanders because he had been running a couple points ahead of Warren and Biden would be a close third. It was fairly packed up, but the fact that she can't even win her own home state, send her packing. To all of the Elizabeth Warren fans, I know you're very salty, and yes, I am going to troll you to pieces on Twitter for hours and hours today. I'm going to have a great time. You got to get her to drop out. She's just going to get humiliated if she stays in. There's no path to victory for her. Hell, there's barely a path to victory for Sanders at this point after this. I'm going to go through this. It might be a long rant here. It's going to be a funny one too, so stay tuned. I think the biggest news of the night, though, here, this one warms the cockles of my heart. I've been talking for months to Bernie Sanders fans, and whenever I talk to them, I say, look, I'm one of Sanders' constituents, and I'm telling you that Bernie Sanders isn't even universally accepted in his home state. And they always brush it aside and say, well, then why do Vermonters keep re-electing him? And I point out there's a difference, demographically, there's a huge difference between Vermonters and the nation, number one, so get that out of my face. Number 2, you've got to understand the dynamic of New England politics. New Englanders tend to vote for the incumbent. Bernie Sanders is not an incumbent presidential figure. He's a challenger for the presidency. He's not even the nominee of the Democratic Party yet. He barely cracked 50% in his home state. So tonight, 2 people's home states were up. Elizabeth Warren came in third in hers. She should drop out. And Bernie Sanders barely managed to crack 50 in a state where supposedly he was ahead by 50 points. Supposedly he was running in the 70s a week ago, or a couple of weeks ago. Where'd your support go, Bernie? Joe Biden won 2 states tonight by a bigger margin than Sanders won his own fucking home state. Here's Sanders' strength. He wins Vermont by 51%, but let's see. Joe Biden won Alabama with 63%. I think that's a bigger number. Oh, and he won Virginia with 53%. Virginia, one of the most important swing states of the whole United States at this point. Probably, the mean, median, and the mode as far as that goes, other than maybe Florida. Joe Biden knocks it out of the park, gets over 50. I think, by the way, when a candidate does that, doesn't it rob everyone else of delegates? I think it does. Bernie Sanders only got that in Vermont, and just barely. Dude, Bernie Sanders at this point is not looking too strong. Now, Cenk of the Young Turks Network, of course, does his live stream. I would have, but, I'm in Amsterdam. I'm handicapped by 6 hours when it comes to U.S. political discourse at the moment. Come, months from now or something, maybe that changes. Right now, I can't really live stream things that are going to be at 3 a.m. I don't think that you would enjoy it. I don't think it's going to be quite as energetic. You'd have to get me loaded first, maybe. Cenk doing his live analysis, and I saw a clip this morning because like 5 people sent it to me. He had a meltdown and abandoned his own show because Bernie Sanders was doing so poorly. But yeah, the news of the night is this. I'm going to go through the states. Here's a list of where Bernie won. California by 33, which, that was pretty much expected. That could rise or fall. There's only 65% reporting. Colorado with 36, Utah with 35, and Vermont with 51. That last one really must hurt him. By the way, he might win Maine. There's 81% reporting there, and it hasn't been declared yet because Biden's only leading by a point. So this could go either way. It could be a 5th state for Bernie or a 9th state for Biden. But, this is hilarious. So here's where Joe Biden won. He wins Alabama with 63, Arkansas with 41, Massachusetts with 34, Minnesota with 39, North Carolina with 43, Oklahoma with 39, Tennessee with 42, Texas with 34, and Virginia with 53. Now, what does this tell us? It tells us that the Democratic voters have rejected socialism. They have rejected Bernie Sanders snake oil, which I'll give you lukewarm golf clap there. Biden, I think, still ends up losing, but he probably doesn't get crippled the same way. And this gives us so many advantages. Seeing Biden, devolve on a debate stage talking to Trump will be funny, number one. Trump will almost certainly win, number two, although I'd be more certain if Bernie Sanders were the nominee. And the Democrats don't go full dumbass. They don't go full socialist. Socialism should never be allowed to represent a mainstream political force within the United States. It's a failed system. We've watched it fail over and over again, and the kind of programs that Bernie Sanders is arguing for have more in common with Venezuela than they do with my Nordic model. He doesn't even follow that. Bernie Sanders is not a social democrat. He is a socialist. He's been proclaiming himself one since the 1970s. I'm tired of Bernie Sanders fans lying and trying to gaslight me on this. You're not going to be able to get around me, of all people. It's just not going to fucking happen. Anyway, Bernie Sanders has been crippled. He's not out of the running. I think that at most what this probably leads to is a contested convention. This is another reason to believe Trump will win. I mean, his odds must be rising right now because it looks like his opponent's going to be a dude with dementia who doesn't even technically have a clear mandate going into the nomination process. If they go there and they have a contested convention, here's what I imagine will happen. Biden will be ahead. He won't have a clear majority, but he will be ahead in the delegate count. He will clearly be the one that's going to be nominated. But the Bernie Sanders fans will raise the biggest God almighty stink ever. In fact, some of Bernie Sanders' own staffers have talked about committing arson and assault if that happens, if Bernie Sanders is not nominated. And I suspect he won't be. This considerably reduces his odds. If we went into into Super Tuesday saying Sanders is technically front runner, albeit a weak one, Biden's gotten that back. This gives him quite an edge in the delegate total. It's not insurmountable, but you have to understand the other effect. The other effect here is that if he looks like he's inevitable, Warren will probably drop out and endorse Joe Biden. At that point, he will coast through the remaining states. Bernie Sanders will still continue to pick up minority delegates, maybe even win a couple of states. Probably just enough to keep Joe Biden from a clear majority, by the way, but Biden will get it. And then the Bernie Sanders fans who have been promised free everything will say, oh no, imagine that imagine that your crazy relative promises to get you all sorts of shit at Christmas. I'm going to give you a sports car and a house, and I'm going to give you $500,000. You do this like a little kid or something because the mentality will be similar. You promise them all sorts of stuff that you can't really deliver on, but you're promising it to them to make them happy. And then Christmas comes and they don't have any of these things because somebody else informed them that they couldn't have them. Now, ultimately, it's because crazy relative couldn't deliver on those things. And everyone around you is rejecting that premise. They know that he's crazy. But unfortunately, you believed it because, you're just not quite mentally there. The Bernie Sanders fans right now are having a nervous breakdown. And partially that's deserved. Some of these people should fucking know better. They've been taken in by a bunch of economic Scientology, and they need to be informed of what reality really is. That is, free shit does not work. Saying, it sounds nice that we should give people free ice cream. Okay, how are you going to pay for that? Oh, I'll make the billionaires give you ice cream. That's fucking stupid. That's not the way it works. It's not the way an economy works. It's not the way sanity works. It's not the way the U.S. apparently has chosen to work. If Bernie Sanders can't even scrape together a clear consensus among Dem voters, this just proves what I've been saying for months, which is that he's taken the Overton window of the Dems and shifted it way off to the side, leaving behind all of the centrist voters in the fucking country. Virtually every independent. When people see this now, Joe Biden just got his aura of inevitability back. There are a lot of people, by the way, who will vote for Joe and hold their nose who aren't really excited. You've got two shitty possibilities here, and you have for quite some time because none of these other fruitcakes have been viable. Bloomberg's come in third in a handful of states. He might even pick up a few delegates, but he doesn't matter. He's even admitted, the other day he admitted, oh, there's no path forward for me to be nominated. I mean, why are you in then, dude? He's more likely to drop out and run as an independent at this point, which, by the way, would kill the Democrats as a party. You got Bernie Sanders, who can't win because he's too old, he's too weak and feeble, he's just got done having a major heart attack. He is a self-proclaimed socialist. It doesn't matter if the Twitter mafia finds that to be fine. It doesn't matter if Tumblr pages agree that that's okay. It doesn't matter how many shitposts I have to see plastered all over the internet about how socialism isn't really the problem, it was CIA coups, or it's really capitalism that killed Venezuela, and all of this stupid shit. Doesn't work. The other alternative is a dude who's almost as old, he's like 2 years younger, and he's got dementia. Clearly has dementia. Joe Biden could string together a paragraph without constantly making mistakes 10 years ago. Now, I know that he suffers with a verbal tic, a stutter. I understand that, but some of the things that he has a problem with lately are not stuttering. Him forgetting the most basic things, like what state he's in or to wear his pants maybe before the staffers run after him to keep him from going outside, that's not normal, dude. Your candidate, think about who your candidate's going to be. Democrats. Think about the choice that it has boiled down to. You pissed away all the viable ones. Nobody ever took Gillibrand seriously. Julian Castro sabotaged himself. And then you had Buttigieg, who was probably the last sane person in the field, and I use that term very tenuously. He decided to drop out. He endorsed Biden, much to Biden's apparent benefit tonight. So yeah, Super Tuesday roundup again. Elizabeth Warren fails to win her home state, comes in third, is humiliated, which is what was going to happen. It was clear that if she won, it would be by a slim margin. Her most likely opportunity was to come in a close second behind Sanders. It ends up inverting completely. Biden manages to fucking grab the state, partially because she refused to drop out. If she had, I have no doubt, if she had dropped out, whether she endorsed Bernie or not, he would have grabbed Massachusetts. If you look at these numbers, Biden would have been pulling 50-50 anyway, even if she did. And that's the funny part. Biden's in such a commanding position right now that he probably would have grabbed up almost this. He probably would have gotten 5 or 6 states even if Warren had dropped out and endorsed Bernie Sanders the day before. That's the funny part. Barely would have counterbalanced Buttigieg. Of course, she's been a non-existent fixture of the field for a long time. At this point, she's broken down into pandering identity politics and making tweets begging for money. Well, if she keeps making those tweets and it's clear she's not going to drop out, then I don't know what to tell her fans, but at that point you've really chosen a real goddamn smelly dead fish as a candidate. Because if a person is completely crushed in this fashion and doesn't leave the race, they're just being stubborn or trying to grift off money, which is what she's been doing the whole time. Elizabeth Warren loves money. She took tens of millions in corporate money in their Senate bid, never spent it, and then rolled it over and called herself grassroots. Bloomberg's out of it. He comes in third. He doesn't show up. Dude, the top number 1 and 2 people in every single state here is Biden and Sanders. Nobody else cracked into the top 3 anywhere, and for the most part didn't grab up any delegates at all. I think that this is great. I think it's good for America, too. It's good to give a stinging rebuke to the socialist whining babies, number 1. Elizabeth Warren, fundamentally knocked out, number 2. I think that's good for the country. She is an ignominious old fool. Bloomberg doesn't gain any traction. It's clear that he's not going to do anything other than sow chaos, possibly, and that would be funny more than anything. Biden will probably be the nominee. Sanders has been rebuked. His fans are salty. Warren's fans are salty. Everyone else is salty. Trump must be celebrating. He's complaining right now, and it's reverse psychology. When he makes tweets about them stealing things from Bernie Sanders, he's trying to get the Bernie Sanders fans riled up more, and it works. That's why he keeps doing it. I'm going to have a good day. It's going to be pretty fun. Coronavirus epidemic spreading aside. That's about all. Peace out.